So, I'm back. Y'all know I had more to say. I was not done speaking. But for those who came back again, thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you enjoy the video, girl, you know what to do. You've been on these YouTube streets, girl. Show your girl some love. But I just wanted to talk about... I actually had originally wanted to make just one video where I talked about this entire experience. But I realized that, no, these experiences were a little bit different, and there's a lot of nuance. And in order for me to truly get a message out there, it's important that I sort of break it up into two. So, as y'all know, your girl has been back on, I've been back on like these Tinder streets. I've been checking what's going on, and I've been more receptive or more open to talking to people. Because I think for the past, almost 10 months, I've just predominantly been trying to blow guys off, or I've had walls up. Maybe not 10 months. It's probably been 6 months. It's been 6 months. Yeah. That I've been just very don't talk to me. Don't even come near me. But I've been slowly, getting back into myself and slowly starting to work on the parts of myself that are broken. But in doing so, especially within the dating world, you are going to encounter people that are odd. I would have loved to have used another name, but YouTube will not let me. So, I have this guy jump into my DMs, and, I'll give you a short rundown. He's Caucasian, big blue eyes, kind of like these cute chubby cheeks, kind of like gangsta wannabe in his pictures, but sweetheart. Yeah, so he jumps into my DMs, and I try to be friendly, or as friendly as I possibly can, to everyone who talks to me. But of course you're gonna bump into someone from some crazy dude. And this guy, he started off with what they usually say. He was like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," this, that, and the other, and basically let it know that he wanted to get to know me with the intentions of being romantic. So I'm like, cool, how did you even find my Instagram? Do you know anything about me? So I basically tell him my tea. And he knew. So I'm assuming he probably saw a video and then jumped into my DMs. But he knew. So I was like, cool, whatever. So that's awesome. So when I talk to somebody, maybe I'm just weird. I want to get to know you. I want to find out about your family. Where are you from? What was it like for you growing up? Things like that. And it was very strange for me talking to this guy, because despite the fact that he was very much attracted to me, he let it be known right at the beginning that he was not a fan of black people. He just wasn't. He didn't care for them. He just wasn't down with the chocolate like that. He just wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean? And I found this strange because, I've spoken to guys who've expressed this sentiment to me. Dude will be kissing me on the dance floor and holding me and all of that, and he's like, I'm not into black girls, but you're so beautiful because you don't act black, or you don't sound black, or you don't this black, and they sort of just put it out there to you. And I find it very strange because I would assume that if you're talking to somebody new, that you would first try to impress them. You would say things to try and be nice. You would say things to try and get them to laugh. You wouldn't try to get into like critical race theory and, tell this person why their race is inferior. That just sounds like not the smoothest move. You know what I mean? And, he's obviously, so this is where I got confused. This is where he lost me, because he talked about the United States and said he wanted to live in a Republican state, like Florida, because, Florida is beautiful, but primarily because it's Republican and it's conservative. And I'm like, oh, are you conservative? Are you a Republican? And he's like, yeah, he's extremely conservative. And he thinks that, the liberal states are pure evil, in his words. And I'm like, oh, goodness. Well, I'm I'm liberal. I would consider myself very, very liberal. You know what I mean? So I was like, and you also understand that I'm trans and I'm black. And he's like, yeah, but you know what they say, they sort of separate you from the blackness that they hate. They elevate you above the blackness that they, despise and all of that. And I find that weird. I find that very, very weird because, he started talking to me about, being black and all of these things, and unprovoked, it's not like I was like, trying to get this info from him. No, I want to talk about other things. Y'all know I wanted to talk about something else, but he just jumped into it, and he was like, that about the liberal states being evil. And he talked about facing discrimination because he is a white man. Now, this is what really, really confuses me, because although he has visited the United States on holiday, he actually lives in Germany and has always lived in Germany. You know what I mean? And I thought it was interesting that, for him as a white, blonde, blue-eyed German man, who is heteronormative, who's like cisgender, I found it interesting that he experienced discrimination and racism from the white Germans. I'm trying to understand why the white people didn't like him because he's white. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to make it make sense, because it's not sensing to me in the right way. So he's all like, no, because when you're white, people think you're this, that, and the other, and he goes on, and I'm like, yes, but tell me about lived experiences. It almost sounds like you're regurgitating something that you've heard. And he's like, no, he's had to work twice as hard. Well, how do you measure that? We often talk about working twice as hard as though we understand another person's lived experiences. Look, I'm not about to sit here and play Oppression Olympics with anybody, because that's not a game that I want to win. I do not want, please hear me, universe and my ancestors, I do not want to win the game of who's had it the worst in life. I'd rather have it good. I'm tired. So I wasn't about to argue with him and be like, go back and forth and be like, what about this? What about this? Because It wasn't my first time encountering a dude like this who lived, a lot of them live in Europe. A lot of them lived in Europe. I mean, talking to these alt-right dudes who, like, they'll find me, they'll be attracted to me, they'll want to be with me romantically, but they'll also want me to agree with their racist ideologies and be baffled at the fact that I do not, and not understand why I am being offended by the things that they're saying. You know what, you know what I mean? And it's frustrating. It really, really is frustrating for a human being, and it's taxing just on your mind, on your brain, on your body, on your everything. And eventually, you know, you get to a stage where you start to question, am I engaging with the right kind of people? Am I giving the right kind of people my time, or am I giving the wrong kind of people my time? As transgender you know, individuals, often even as gender fluid, or even a lot of people within the greater LGBTQ space, a lot of us have not felt comfortable dating black men. A lot of us have felt that it's been very dangerous for us to be in black spaces because of the homophobia, the transphobia, the I'm forgetting the name now, but all of these problems within the black community, a lot of us have not felt comfortable to move within those spaces. We felt that we were more at risk. And I know so many trans women who, they don't even look twice at black guys. They look like, they don't think twice. They don't do nothing. They're just like, no, they don't play those games. They value their personal safety over any attraction that they might have. And I know that's a very loaded statement. It makes it seem like all black men are terrible. However, we have to acknowledge the fact that trans women that look like me are the ones that are dying at the hands of black people, you know, at the hands of black men. So y'all know where I stand. I primarily date within the white community, or, well, up until recently, I was thinking about, you know, Chung Li and entering the Asian community for a little bit, but something happened. Now, not to digress, but I've primarily dated white men, and although I've had a lot of positive experiences, some of the negative experiences are so jarring, they like hit you at your core. You know, I'm someone who struggled with dealing with racism. I'm someone who struggled with feeling inferior, or made to feel inferior because of what I looked like. So at this point in my life, I want peace. And I want to be with somebody who would have compassion to the fact that I may be sensitive to certain issues, and I may have struggled with certain, you know, things. So yeah, at this point in my life, I just want peace. And I've gotten to a point where I've started to pick up certain traits within certain groups of men. And the natural human reaction is, once you start to see a trend in a certain group of people, you start to back away. You start to back away despite how politically correct you are, despite your privileged upbringing, despite your morals and your values. Your instinct to save yourself from perceived pain or danger, it's going to kick in. And I've noticed that with certain groups of men, culturally, or just in terms of just how they were raised and all of that, and how conservative their backgrounds are, I can't be dealing with them. I can't be dealing with them. Like I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, girl, I am done with Vikings. I am done with Vikings. And I was explaining to her that it was so sad that we live in the year 2022, and yet we behave like we're still living in 1657 or something. That because somebody comes from a different culture, somebody, comes from a different culture or has a different skin color, you therefore cannot be with them, or if you are with them, you have to remind them of how terrible their culture is, and that you've saved them from their culture. Some of these white men that enter into our spaces speak to us as though we do not hear them. They speak to us as though we are not in the room, and they speak to us as though we have no emotions. There was another guy who tried to talk to me, and he was South African, which was a little bit more disappointing, because you want to believe the best in your fellow countrymen, but girl, he started talking to me, and he was all like, you know what they say, they're like, you're not like the others, that's why I like you. And I'm like, oh, you mean like the other what? Because you mean like other trans girls, other, like, what? He's like, no, other black people, like, other black people aren't like you at all, you're a step above. And I'm like, that's not a compliment for me. I like, and that's when he like, he dug in deeper, and he was all like explaining his point of view, and going on about how, he went on about his beliefs about black people, comparing us to animals, and saying that we were vicious, and we were just killing and destroying everything in our path, and that's why, the continent is the way that it is. He went deep. He said, he was like, the worst thing that white people have actually done for black people is give them education, because he said that's when they thought, they were something spectacular. Like, he went deep. And I'm like, how are you trying to win me over? But say this. And it got to a point I had to block this boy, because I was like, please stop talking to me. The things you're saying are hurting my feelings, and I'm not enjoying the conversations that I'm having with you. And it's annoying. It is so annoying, because you meet somebody who at surface level, you get along with wonderfully, you have similar interests, you both find each other attractive, you both would match sexually, like it all works, but then it's pulled apart because, you're black, and he's white, or he's this culture and you're that culture, and therefore you cannot be together. And I'm like, y'all need to grow up. Y'all need to grow up. I'm not saying like every white person out there needs to put on a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and become the biggest and baddest ally. But I am saying that if you're going to step into a community, you're not going to kidnap me like I'm some Pocahontas. You know what I mean? I'm not about to be a stolen daughter. If you want to be with me, that means you need to accept the fact that I come from a culture and an experience that's different from yours. And you need to understand that when the black community is hurt, I am hurt along with it. Yes, we have our problems with our men. But at the end of the day, you know what? I still see humanity in all of us, and black people included. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel my people's pain, you know what I mean? Because I live it every single day. So I'm not about to be a kid, like, I'm not about to be a stolen daughter. I'm really not about to be a stolen daughter. So what does that mean? Like, what does that even, you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean for me? Does that mean, like I'll be with no one because, no, I'm going to be with somebody, girl. Girl. But it does mean that, it does mean, unfortunately, that, you know, due to my experience as a trans woman, when I interact, especially as a black trans woman, when I interact with a lot of these guys, I need to, I need to first, you know, make sure that, you know, we're on board, we're on, like, the same mental thinking level, that he is somebody who is, you know, kind and thoughtful and has logic and common sense and decency. And the only way you can do that is by communication. You know, it's only through trial and error that you find the right one. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. And that means that, you know, you may still have these encounters. I may still have these encounters. I may bump into somebody who I thought was wonderful. Come to find out, he's a whole alt-right, you know what I mean? Or he's like DL, or he's like this, that, or the other. We are only going to find the perfect one through trial and error. But I want you to understand that through that trial and error, what I said in the last video still stands. They're connected. You're the one who holds the power. And the minute you know, you sense and you feel and you see those red flags, see them for what they are, because the red flags that, you know, that were worrying you in the beginning of the relationship are the same red flags that are going to be the cause of the end of the relationship. You know what I mean? It's really not hard to be a good person. And if you're talking to somebody and your intellect tells you that this person's not a good person, yes, he went through trauma, yes, he has all these issues and baggage, but at the end of the day, because of it or whatever, he's not a good person and he's not for me. In my language, we love to say that lo mntu andimpiwanga, uThixo akandiphanga lo mntu. And that means God has not given this person to me as a gift. They're somebody else's gift. That boy, he can go and find a wonderful, you know, self-hating black girl to be with. And they can run off into the sunset. I would rather no black woman be hurt in the making of the foolishness that will be his relationship. So I would prefer he find a Caucasian female and they run off into the sunset. But still, ooh, it would hurt me if any Caucasian queen was hurt in the making of the foolishness that is the relationships that he is about to have. But I release him in love and open myself up to other people that are wonderful, other people that are good. They are out there, you know. It's just, you know, once you identify a person's not right for you, don't hold on longer than what you have to. Because if you're holding on longer than what you have to, the result is going to be a whole lot of pain. And I don't want that for you, because I understand that you deserve so much better. You deserve the world. I love you. I thank you for all the love and support. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Bye! And that's how you know a video's done.